Welcome to another episode of the Unprofessional Parenting Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Lainey.
And have we got a show for you? I just knew you were going to hate that intro. We're back, baby. We got another episode today, and we are going to be talking about... Why do you have the look of disappointment on your face?
I'm just so sick of your intros.
They're so good. The people want this. They've told me. Specifically, our comments and feedback have said,
a single person.
the intro is my favorite part of the entire thing. Anyway, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about things we wish we knew before we got into foster care.
Yes.
If we could go back and change things or say things to ourselves 5 years ago, what are the things that we would want to tell ourselves before stepping into the world of foster care and adoption?
Yeah.
But before we get there, I wanted to ask you a question. We're going to do a little quiz to start this, okay? You so excited for this?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Back to the Future?
No.
You've never seen that one?
No, I haven't.
It's a classic.
I mean, I've seen like...
There are people who are going to be judging you off of this. Classic cinema.
I know. I just feel like people need to know about me that I am really intelligent in a lot of areas. I am.
I will attest to that. Yes, it's true.
Movies, TV shows, music, unless it's Lady Gaga or Shania Twain.
Or T Swift.
Or Taylor Swift.
Or Garth Brooks.
Okay, yeah, look at this plethora.
I'm telling you, you got, there's a niche there.
Yeah. Anyway, media in general, don't care about it. I do not care. I don't partake unless I have to. I don't remember lines of movies and characters. I don't care.
You're so fun in conversations about those things. Hey, did you watch the latest episode of... No, I did not.
I know, and I feel like people really bond on like quoting movie lines to each other, and I just sit there and I'm like, oh,
It's
sorry.
okay. Well, that's going to make this first segment very fun because we're going to do a movie quiz from the movie Back to the Future.
That I haven't seen.
That you have not seen.
That's great.
Yeah. So I have $3 in my pocket right here. 3 crisp, brand new $1 bills.
Wow.
And I'm going to ask you 3 questions. If you get any of these questions right, you get to take home one of these bad boys. All right?
Even though we got them from home.
Exactly.
Okay.
But here's the deal. If you don't get the question right, these dollar bills go into my pocket. Okay? So first question is this. What is the name of the main character of Back to the Future? You can give me his stage name in the movie, or you could give me his name in real life, the actor that plays him.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Is it the young person or the old person?
So you know that much about the movie. That's good.
But I don't know who the main character is.
The younger person's main character.
Okay. I also don't know the old person, so it doesn't matter which one you said in that situation. I don't know.
Main character's name is Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox. Thank you very much. This Washington goes into my pocket.
Wait, his last name is McFly?
Yeah, Marty McFly.
Doesn't the spaceship like fly?
Okay.
Is that
Moving on to question number 2. Question number 2. What is the name of the device or the car that the device goes into?
The spaceship.
It's not a spaceship. It's a time-traveling object.
Okay.
What is the name of the device or the car? DeLorean and the flux capacitor. You didn't know that?
Oh my gosh.
1.21 gigawatts.
You are such a nerd. Why did you know that so much?
This George Washington goes into my pocket.
A DeLorean?
Yeah.
Is the
Type
brand of the car?
It's a type of car. Yes.
Is that an actual car?
It's a real car. Yes. Very much so. I love that. All right, the last question. This is one you might be able to get. Here we go. The last question. How many movies are there in the Back to the Future series? Come on.
3.
3! Did you know that? Or did you just guess?
That's a guess.
Shot in the dark. Well, here you go. I guess
Is it 3?
It's 3. There's 3.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one Back to the Future, and then Back to the Future Part 2, Back to the Future, Back to the Future. And then there's Back to the Future, Back to the Future, Back to the Future.
That's not.
I'm just kidding. That's not what they're called.
Okay, stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each of them 3 unique themes, 3 unique storylines. It's great.
Okay.
But one of these storylines in Back to the Future is Doc, who's the old guy, tells Marty McFly, when you go to the past, don't change too much because it'll change the entire course of the future.
Yeah.
Right?
This makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. And so we're going to kind of relate that to life in parenting, right? Is if we could go back in time and we could whisper a little truth to ourselves about what the next 5 years are going to look like, what are the things that we would want to tell ourselves going into this foster care journey that we would want people to know?
Right. But it can't be too much.
Can't be too much.
Because then...
But it could be too much because I'd like to change a lot of things. But you know what I'm saying.
Because then it might change the future.
It might change the future, and hopefully in a positive way.
Right.
Why don't you take us, start us off? Take us away, if you will.
Oh.
Whisk us away.
In a spaceship?
Yes, exactly. To the Back to the Future.
Oh,
if you
man.
would tell yourself one thing 5 years ago that would help to know going
Yeah. I think the first thing that comes to mind is I wish I had a better understanding or was better prepared for how much I would feel like an outsider once we entered this process.
Yeah.
And that feeling manifests itself in several different scenarios. One of the main ones I think is friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And
kind of explain what you mean by feeling like an outsider.
yeah, of course. So feeling like an outsider in situations, because in order to understand what it's like to be a foster parent, you just have to be a foster parent. And
There's just there are things. I know some
Yeah.
people who are going to listen to this and be like, well, I'm a parent and I've experienced a lot of what you're talking about.
of course.
Very much
course.
so. We validate that for sure.
Right.
But I think there are little nuances to the game.
Yeah, and there are just certain things that you don't get unless you've experienced them. And that's true for everything in life,
Very much.
but definitely true for foster parenting.
Yeah.
And we have made friends with some amazing other foster families and adoptive families.
Yeah.
And the reason our bonds are so close with them is because we speak an emotional language that not a lot of other people understand.
We have a shared experience.
Yes.
That always builds bigger bonds.
Yes.
And that's maybe why we felt in the past like friends of ours who were our friends as we walked into this journey 5 years ago are not necessarily like the closest of
Right.
or of friends nowadays.
Right. Yeah. I think there's just some natural separation that has happened. And I know our experience is unique because I've talked to several foster parents who feel very similarly, because when you take kids into your home who are not your biological children and you start in this ministry, this journey, whatever you want to call it, there are just certain things that we had to start saying no to because we wanted to say yes to the children that were in our home.
Yeah.
And there were certain events, certain get-togethers, certain dinners, parties, whatever, that we could no longer be a part of because we had children or because our life was moving in a different direction. And especially because we immediately started parenting with older children. Yeah. We were the first parents in our friend group, and it was older children.
Yeah.
It was an 8 and 10-year-old.
Our children were almost teenagers at that point.
And then, as time went on, all of our friends started having babies.
Yeah.
And again, that just almost adds even more to the natural distance that could occur in conversations and things like that, because we're just seemingly at 2 totally different life stages, age-wise, for our kids. And also, we are going through and experiencing really difficult challenges that a lot of our friends just couldn't relate to and understand.
Yeah, and that's not on them.
No. Not a criticism at all. It's just like you don't understand unless you've been there.
Yeah. I feel like their support has changed a little bit differently over the years of us too, right?
Oh, for sure.
And we've just seen a change of like, and they're trying to understand.
Yeah.
And they want to understand. But they also realize that their place, that's going to sound harsh. I don't want it to sound harsh. their standing in our life as friends is just different now. It's different.
Yeah. Well, I have a great group of girlfriends who are not foster or adoptive moms, and we get together regularly. And as moms do, talking about our kids, whatever. But even in those conversations, this is on me. It's not because they are making me feel this way.
Right.
I still feel somewhat of an outsider because our life experience has now just become so different from what theirs is.
Yeah.
And there are things that I would want to open up to them about, but it's like, oh, I don't want to put that burden on them. You know, I don't.
Right.
I don't want.
Or they'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Right. When your kids get older.
The other outsider experience is the fact that we are only like 15 or 16 years older than our oldest child.
Yeah.
So
Well, speak for yourself. I'm 20 years older.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm an old man.
Oh yeah, you are. I mean, but still 20. That's still young.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So in those situations, you show up to school events or you show up to whatever your child is doing, and we looked around at the other parents and they are in a completely different generation than us.
Yes.
And
it's like, you're almost old enough to be my dad.
right. And they've been so nice.
They've been
lot
professionals for 30 years in their field. And I'm like,
some of them are retired, Matt.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well,
So football, go Bucks.
yeah,
right?
because our oldest daughter, it also just happens to be very good friends with girls who are the youngest of their family.
Yep.
So like their parents have kids that are out of the house now,
That's
and
right.
so it's like, man, I am almost your kid's age, but we're parenting.
So you're caught in this like weird
The
in
same
between
kid.
spot.
Yep.
It's like everybody's too young, who's your age? Everybody's too old, who's your kid's age? You're
Yeah.
like, what do we do here?
Yeah. So then we just looked around and we were like, where are the other foster families?
Right. And so we found a beautiful community just full of superheroes.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, in the foster care community around here, just lifelong friends that'll be that just. I mean, it's not like they're different human beings or better people than our friends prior to.
No.
It's just different.
It's just different. Yeah.
It's just different, and that's okay. That's okay. So that's one thing you want to share with yourself.
It's like, girl, you're going to be an outsider. I've been that way almost my entire life, so it's not like this new feeling.
It's new for me.
But I
was always in.
I know it probably is new for you. You're very extroverted and relational. But it was just something that I didn't... People say your relationships are going to change, but I just didn't know how. And so I wish I could tell myself, like, it'll be okay. Like, you don't need to stress as these changes start to happen. It's just a natural part of you entering a space that not a lot of people have an understanding about.
Yeah, that's very true. I think for me, one of the things I wish I could go back and tell myself 5 years ago is to be patient.
Oh, that's
now,
a good one.
again,
Okay.
just the nature of who I am. I'm a decently patient
You're
person.
a very patient person.
That's
so
one of the things you like about me most, right?
you have to be patient in order to balance me out.
Yeah, so that's why we work well together.
Right. I'm surprised that that's your I wish I knew. Why is that your I wish you knew?
I wish I knew this because, and I was getting there, but the rate at which the foster care process and the things that happen within your foster care journey happen is such a slow pace.
Like
I'm
the
talking
system.
the system.
Yeah.
I'm talking about caseworkers. I'm talking about the court system. I'm talking about goods and services for our kids, getting those lined up. Man, everything moves at an absolute snail's pace. And I understand that there are outlying, issues with our system around here in the specific county that we live in, and just the influx of kids into the foster care system. The numbers are staggering. And our caseworkers are overworked, and our court systems are overpopulated, and foster families are few and far between. And so, like, there's a real problem with it. But going along and just experiencing some of those things, I'm a patient person until like I've procrastinated long enough that like it's in dire need of getting done. Right. And it's like, you got, like, this has got to work. And we've even experienced things with each of our kids in their court cases and things where we've had an emergency or something's popped up and we're like, oh my gosh, we got to get this figured out immediately.
Yeah.
So we're on the phone, we're calling people at all hours of the night, and they'll come back with, yeah, we'll meet together in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, because there's certain things on cases that only judges can make decisions about.
Exactly.
And you've got, you're talking to all of the caseworkers, the guardian ad litems, that you're talking to these people in a circle, but really the judge has to make the decision about it. So you're advocating for this child, like, we need a decision made like tomorrow about this because it's affecting their safety, it's affecting their well-being, it's like whatever it is. And then they're like, well, the first available docket is going to be a month from now.
Or
so
3 months from now.
Yeah. And
or
it's
we'll check back in with you 6 months from now. And you're like,
yeah, the check-ins are every 6 months. And it's like,
please.
Wait, hold on. A lot can happen in 6 months. So it's just, it's so slow.
You're right. And then there's the other parts of it, like where you have to have people come into your home.
Yeah.
And check up with the kids that are in your home, and kind of your life goes on pause for a disruption of things that are happening and meetings that you have to have, and caseworkers who will plan a meeting at 4:30 but not show up until 7:30.
Yeah.
And so you're just like on hold. Do I go out and make dinner? Like, what do I do here? It's a process where it's really just stretching your patience. And I think the thing that I've learned along the way is what it's done for me in my life, and I know for you as well, because we've had conversations about this, is it's removed us from the driver's seat of the situation. Yeah. And I know for one thing, you, if you don't mind me telling the world,
go for it,
like to be in control of the situation that you're in. I think that's normal for everybody. Like, we pick and choose the situations and the things that we do based on the amount of control we can have over the variables and how we can control and get to a resolution and an outcome that favors us, right? In this process, you're not in control
at all.
There are so many different entities that have to all work together to all, create the outcome. And so in the waiting process, it is like you have two options. You can either freak out every single day and be an absolute nervous wreck and be exhausted every single day of trying to control the outcome that you will never be able to control. By the way, we're foster parents. We don't have a ton of control in the process anyways. Right. Or you can relent that and allow the Lord to be in the driver's seat of the situation and say, whatever is coming, I know it's in your good timing and it's going to work together for good because you've ordained this to happen, right? And so I think just as a sanctifying process for us, the patience that it's taken to be in this game for 5 years has been something the Lord has been working on in our lives and giving us opportunities to say, okay, God, this is you. Like, this is you. I'm praying for a specific outcome and I'm praying for it to happen in a specific amount of time. But ultimately, you're in control. Right. And I am willing to trust you with this because I trust you enough. Yeah. I'm willing to be obedient in this because you've asked me to be obedient. Right. And so that is a tough thing. It's a spiritual stressor and stretcher.
Oh, yeah. It's an emotional stressor as well. Yeah. Right. Well, because foster parents are considered observers on the case. Yeah. So you've got people that are parties to the case that make the decisions. Right. You've got the birth parents, case managers, guardian ad litems, attorneys. All those people are parties to the case who get access to all the information, who can make decisions. They're part of the meetings. Like, their input is weighted when it comes to the decisions that are happening. And then you've got foster parents that are... So
they're like over here.
Like observers.
Yeah. They're
considered observers in the system. So, but it's so, for us as foster parents experiencing this, because I was also a case manager in my previous life. Right. So I've known what it was like to sit in one of the driver's seats and make decisions and have all the input. So now that I'm a foster parent, we are raising the children who all these decisions are affecting. Yeah. But what we think and say really doesn't matter that much. Right. Now, you've got case managers and judges who will ask for your opinion and who will ask how the children are doing, what you think is in the best interest of the child. But truly, it doesn't matter what we think. and
Sure.
feel
Right.
and want and desire.
But I want that to be known. I want everybody to know what I think and feel and desire.
Right. So we really,
That constant tension of like,
Yeah.
what do we do here?
yeah. So there's been times where I have absolutely driven myself crazy, sending emails, making phone calls, trying to help the situation where I saw issue, but I never was the one who could make decisions. And that was something, like you said, that was always a struggle because I love making decisions. And when we see things that are happening and we think that we have the best decision, like
Yeah.
we think that we have the answer,
Yeah.
it's a stretch of patience and a release of control to know that as much as I can just give input, because that's important to advocate for the children in your home, you're not going to be the one making the final decisions.
Right. That's just another thing. You could whisper to yourself, hey, you're going to do good, but you don't get to make any decisions.
None. Absolutely none
Yeah.
decisions.
And then you're like, skip, please. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
What's another thing that you wish you would have told yourself?
Another thing, well, I tell myself, oh man, I wish I would have known this, but also would I have ended up saying yes and being a foster parent if I had known this? Probably not.
Yeah, those exist too.
So I'm glad I didn't know
Uh-huh.
because it was important for us to say yes. But I think the concept that you cannot love a child to health from their trauma. Love does not cure trauma. And
That's tough.
that is a really hard concept to come to grips with as just human beings, because we want to love a child and then them have the understanding of, oh, I'm loved and everything will be better now. And I know that's a little romanticized, but we've been doing this for every day for 5 years with our girls, and we still are having some of the same struggles, and they're still working through some of the same hurt and struggling. I think we talked about it in our last episode or one of the episodes we did on attachment. Like, you can say and do the same things out of love every single day, and it will still be difficult for children to fully understand that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably something I wish I had known better or had a better understanding of, so that I could be easier on myself through this process. I could have more patience relationally with our kids in knowing that just loving them and showing them what a healthy bond is does not necessarily mean that they are just going to boom get it.
Yeah, or be cured of all the things that they've experienced in their life prior to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And even just the timing of when, I mean, love is the foundation of things, but sometimes kids need more.
Oh, a lot of times
They need
more.
professional help.
Oh yeah.
They need therapies and just time to process things with other people, to go back and to figure out how to deal with trauma and things that they've experienced in their life, and to become productive people after that and healthy people after that, right?
Yeah.
And even just time, and we talked about this in our bonding episode of like, bonding and attachment takes a lifetime. It's not just a momentary thing of like, yeah, we bonded for today. Good. We're solid for the rest of the year. There's a tank that you're continuously filling of love every single day. And you're at such a deficit already, right? And so you're just trying to fill that tank. Even when the tank is full, it still might not look what you like. It still might not be right in the mind and the heart of the child. So that's one thing that we pray for all the time for our kids is like, we want them to know that we love them, so we'll tell them and we'll show them and we'll try to our hardest, try to teach them what unconditional love looks like. A lot of them have an unhealthy view of what love is in the first place. So we try to do that, but we'll also be praying that God shows them the truth of his love, right? And I think that if they could grasp hold of the depth of the unconditional love that comes from God towards them, it helps with self-worth. It helps with understanding purpose in life. It helps with just understanding love in general and what relationship looks like and what selflessness looks like. And so that's one thing that we just pray for our kids all the time, is to just experience and have a chance to understand the love of God in their lives, right?
Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah.
But because we know that no matter what we do, no matter how many times we tell them, no matter how many times we show them, it might not be enough in the end, right?
Oh yeah, because you can't just love. That's not going to
Love
make
and
love
right?
and a
Love,
lot of other things.
Love and a lot of other
Yeah.
things. That's a good way of
Yeah,
putting it.
and I don't want that part of our conversation to discredit the love that their birth parents have for them.
Because they all love them.
Uh,
All of them.
I have worked in the system for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have ever met a parent that didn't love their children.
Right.
Like truly love their children.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand that when you introduce things like drug addiction and domestic violence and neglect and parents who in their childhood didn't receive healthy
Generational
yeah
things.
it becomes a generational thing, so they're just working with what they got.
Yep.
When all those things are introduced, it really starts to fraction and muddy the waters of what healthy love is.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of birth parents that are just doing the best they can to show the type of love that they
know.
think, that they know
Right.
and that they think is best for their child. So I don't.
But it might not always be healthy.
But it might not always be healthy.
Right.
But it's
like for our kids.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about taking them to stores and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean
Right.
a big one for our kids and probably a lot of kids in general. When a parent is struggling emotionally, and this is true for anybody. I mean, it would be true for us. When a parent is struggling emotionally, it's difficult for them to then give a healthy emotional stability to their child.
Right.
So when a parent is struggling with these other things, addiction, mental health issues, and whatever, they struggle to then give a healthy attachment and a healthy love to their child. So it's often, but they got this love. They're like, I do love my child. So often it manifests itself in like buying items for them.
Right.
Buying things for them. Oh, you want that? Well, I love you, so let me buy you that.
Right.
Which we noticed when we went to the store, that was their definition of love.
Oh my gosh. We do a game where we'll walk into Walmart and I will bet with Lainey how long until somebody asks,
Ask for something.
Can we have that? Can I get that? Can
And
I
then
have
how long until the meltdown happens after we say no.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we would go to stores initially, and it was just an expectation that our kids had that every time I go anywhere, a store, a gas station, whatever, they were going to receive something. Because that's how their parents showed, I love you and I care for you. I'm going to buy you something when we go somewhere.
Yeah.
So
We almost had to wean them off that expectation
yeah.
too.
So when we started saying, no, just because I go to a store does not mean I'm going to buy you something. For them, that was a relational crisis because that was us sending a message to them.
Do you not love me?
That we don't love them.
Right.
Because that was the definition of love that they knew.
Right.
So
exactly. We have to redefine what love looks like. Yeah.
Yes. Or expand the definition.
Expanding it.
Expand their definition of love.
Yeah.
No, all these other things are a form of me loving you. And it just takes a long time for kids to understand that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the last things, we can just talk about this real quick, is that I wish I could go back and tell myself is that, and this is probably a duh moment for all parents, like, yeah, what you're saying is very true. But just telling myself that all of my kids have different responses to things that they experience together. Like they'll have a shared experience of something, but they will all respond differently or have a different reaction or a different understanding of what's taking place in that experience. And that each of my kids, I have to parent them extremely differently.
Yeah.
Even our kids that have experienced the same trauma from previous life, right?
Yeah,
We
because
have
our girls are from the same
exactly.
household.
They were in the same exact situation, but both of them are just so different and
Yeah.
unique of what they take away from things. Some, the response is more frustrating than others. Some, it's easier to navigate and just be like, oh, I know what she actually wants here. I know what she's trying to get to here. Some of it, I'm just like dumbfounded at the end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Like, it's just an absolute
That happens
whirlwind
a
of
lot.
emotion in the moment. I'm like, where is this even coming from? Because you have one kid laughing, you have one kid crying, and you have one kid just so angry at the
Yeah,
world. And it's
yeah.
like, how did this happen?
That's
right?
literally our kids.
I know,
That's-
exactly.
Yeah, to the same
Exactly,
experience.
to the same exact thing.
Yep.
But just understanding that each person is unique in the way that they've experienced life and the way that they, the lenses at which they look at life through now, are very different from kid to kid. And so like it challenges you as a parent to step into certain situations and circumstances and parent specifically to the way that your kid needs it in that moment, right?
Yeah.
I just know that, like, I don't know, even when it goes back to showing love, I know that my kids have different love languages too.
Yes.
Each of them are very, very different and very, very unique. So maybe it goes back with the being patient thing because, you know, I like to love very quickly and trust very quickly and build relationship very quickly. It's who I am as a person. And it has taken 5 years plus, like however long it's going to take after this,
Yeah.
to really nail down the specific needs and unique ways that I need to love each one of my kids and parent each one of my kids. And so try not to get frustrated with it. It's frustrating at sometimes, just being completely honest as a parent.
Yeah. I think every parent is going.
Right.
Yes.
But I wish I could have just gone back and been like, hey, Matt, just want to let you know everything's going to be okay, but be patient.
Yeah. Well, we come out of our parenting classes, our training, 40 hours worth of.
Oh, yeah.
40 hours worth of trauma training.
Yeah.
And then we've got the books. I've read the books. You don't really read, so you probably
I have
haven't
you
read
tell
the
me the
books.
books.
Yeah. You know, it's just this is my passion in my life's work, so I'm constantly reading books and educating myself on trauma and how to heal from trauma, how to help children heal from trauma, parent through it, all that stuff. And you take what the books tell you and you apply it. You apply the same technique to all your kids. And then you're looking at it like, why is this not working for you?
The book says it.
The book said to do this.
Yeah.
And it's not working for you. No. And you've got one of the kids that it's like marvelous. It's like, wow, this is transforming her life.
The flow chart's working.
It's working. And then the other one, it's not working at all.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be able to not generalize the parenting techniques that you're using. Even 100%. When the book says this is the best way to respond, children might not still respond to that.
Very true.
And it has even come up when we started learning, like, this is what's going to work for her. This is what's going to work for her. This is what's going to work for him. We start implementing those things, and our older kids start calling us out on it. Like, well, that's not how you discipline or respond to this child.
It's the worst thing you can say.
And so then you have to walk your kids through. Everyone's different. Our parenting has
things.
Yeah, you need different things. She needs different things. We are just, and so then we're like teaching our kids how. Let me teach you how parenting
And then they
works.
start parenting, and this is the worst. It's the worst. But anyway, well, maybe after this, we can go watch some Back to the Future, figure out how to build a DeLorean with a flux capacitor, and go back.
I won't be watching that. I have no interest in it.
Whatever. That's fine. I'll just show it to our kids, and again, they'll get mad at me for showing them all the old movies that I always show them. Yeah. But those are the good ones. Those are the good ones.
Because they see us as so old.
Yeah.
Even though
we're not
really not.
By the way, all our kids.
Them.
Never mind. I don't even have to go with that. That's another episode.
Okay.
But anyway, thanks for joining us today. This has been Matt.
And I'm Lainey.
With the Unprofessional Parenting Podcast, and we will see you next time.